You have big dreams about crypto. You can see yourself building real wealth. You imagine the portfolio, the financial freedom, the version of your life where money is no longer the thing keeping you stuck. It feels so close sometimes that it almost seems real. But when it comes to actually doing the work that builds that life, you freeze. You wait. You tell yourself you will get serious about your strategy tomorrow. You tell yourself you will stop making emotional trades next week. You tell yourself the next cycle will be different. And then the next cycle comes and you do the same thing all over again. You are not alone in this. There is an entire category of crypto investors who are exactly like you, ambitious but inconsistent, full of conviction one day and paralyzed by doubt the next, watching portfolios they built through discipline get slowly dismantled by the same impulsive decisions they promised themselves they would stop making. And the worst part is, you know you are capable of more. You just cannot seem to make yourself act like it. This is not about being a bad investor. This is not about lacking intelligence or access to information. This is about psychology. This is about patterns in your brain that were built over time through every panic sell, every FOMO buy, every moment you chose the comfort of inaction over the discomfort of discipline. And the good news is that if something was built, it can be changed. But first, you need to understand what is actually happening inside your mind. You need to see clearly why you keep doing what you keep doing, and then you need to decide if you are ready to do something about it. Let me paint a picture of what your relationship with crypto probably looks like right now. You start each cycle with genuine intention. This time is different. This time you have a plan. This time you are going to accumulate consistently, hold with conviction, take profits at the right time, and not let emotion make your decisions. You feel serious about it. You feel ready. But then the market starts moving. Bitcoin runs 20% in a week and something in you shifts. You start checking prices more frequently. You start reading more. You start feeling like maybe you should be doing something, adjusting something, capitalizing on the momentum somehow. Before you know it, you have made 3 decisions you never planned to make. The plan is already gone. Or the opposite happens. The market drops and the fear arrives. Everything you thought you believed about Bitcoin's long-term value suddenly feels theoretical against the very real and immediate sensation of watching your balance fall. You tell yourself you are just being rational. You tell yourself this is risk management, and you sell at exactly the wrong moment and spend the next 6 months watching the recovery from the sideline, wondering when to get back in. At night, you feel the guilt of it. You know you had a plan. You know what the research says about long-term holding. You know that the emotional decision you made today has probably cost you thousands. You promise yourself that tomorrow will be different. You feel motivated again in the dark. But when the market opens tomorrow, the same psychology is waiting for you, and the cycle begins again. This pattern has been running for months, maybe for multiple cycles, and you're starting to wonder if you will ever actually become the investor you know you could be. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. You are living in a constant state of internal conflict. One part of you wants to build real wealth through crypto. That part sets the plan. That part understands the thesis. That part knows that patience and consistency are the actual strategy. But another part of you wants to avoid the discomfort that real investing requires. That part wants the feeling of control. That part wants to do something when things feel uncertain. That part wants to protect you from the pain of loss and the embarrassment of being wrong. And right now, the part that wants comfort is winning. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. When you hold a position through a 30% drawdown, your brain registers that as a threat. It sees real money disappearing from a screen. It sees uncertainty about whether it comes back. It sees the possibility that everyone telling you to hold is wrong, and your brain does not like any of those things. So it offers you an exit. Sell now. Reduce the exposure. Take back the feeling of control. Your brain rewards you with a momentary reduction in anxiety. The discomfort goes away, and your brain learns that selling during drops makes you feel better. So it keeps encouraging you to sell during drops. This is not weak character. This is not a flaw unique to you. This is the default human response to financial uncertainty. Your brain thinks it is protecting you. The problem is, while it's protecting you from short-term discomfort, it's consistently destroying your long-term results.
Every panic sell that feels like relief in the moment is a data point teaching your brain to panic sell next time too. Every FOMO buy that feels like opportunity is reinforcing the pattern of chasing rather than planning. You are not building bad habits accidentally. You are building them through a very efficient learning system that is responding rationally to the emotional signals you keep sending it. Let me tell you what you're probably thinking right now. You are thinking that you just need more discipline, that successful crypto investors have some quality you don't, that if you could just find the right strategy, the right information, the right community, the motivation would follow and the results would change. But that's not how it works. Motivation is a feeling. Feelings come and go. You can't build a crypto portfolio on motivation. You need something stronger. You need structure. You need systems. You need to understand that the discipline that holds through a bear market is not something you're born with. It's something you build through one small, consistent decision at a time. Here's another thing you're probably dealing with and may not have named yet: perfectionism. You have such a clear picture of what your ideal crypto strategy looks like that any deviation from it feels like total failure. So when you make one emotional trade, instead of acknowledging it and returning to the plan, you abandon the plan entirely. One bad decision becomes permission to stop trying. You tell yourself you will start fresh next cycle with a better plan, when conditions are cleaner, when you feel more ready. But perfect never comes. Ready never comes. Clean conditions never come, and while you're waiting for them, the market keeps moving and the discipline you need keeps failing to develop. Perfectionism in investing is not about having high standards. Perfectionism is fear wearing the mask of excellence. It's your brain giving you a reason to never fully commit, because if you never fully commit, you can never fully fail. Let me be honest with you about something you probably already know but haven't fully faced. You are afraid. You are afraid that if you actually build a real, disciplined strategy and follow it completely, and it still doesn't produce the results you imagined, you will have to face a truth you have been avoiding. Maybe you are not as naturally good at this as you thought. Maybe the vision of financial freedom through crypto that has kept you going is not as certain as it felt. That fear is the real reason you keep self-sabotaging. It's easier to stay in the version of reality where you know what you should be doing but just aren't doing it yet, because in that version you are still someone who could succeed if you wanted. The moment you actually try with everything you have, that safety disappears. But here's what you need to understand. Failure is not the opposite of success in crypto. Inaction is. The investor who makes imperfect decisions and learns from them is building something. The investor who keeps planning and adjusting and never fully committing is building nothing. Every serious long-term crypto holder you can point to has made costly mistakes, has held through periods where the thesis looked completely wrong, has had moments of genuine doubt. The difference is they kept moving. They took imperfect action. They made their plan and followed it even when following it felt terrible. That's what you need to do. So how do you actually break this cycle? How do you go from being someone who knows exactly what to do and still doesn't do it to someone who simply executes? It starts with accepting one hard truth. You are not going to feel like doing it. You're probably never going to wake up genuinely excited to hold through a 40% drawdown or make your consistent purchase when the price looks like it's in free fall. That feeling is not coming. The brain does not produce enthusiasm for the actions that build real wealth. It produces enthusiasm for the actions that produce immediate reward. You're going to have to act without the feeling, especially when you don't feel like it. Because every time you take the right action despite the resistance, you are doing something the emotional part of your brain can't do. You are teaching it through experience that the discomfort doesn't last, and that discipline produces outcomes that comfort never will. Start smaller than you think you need to. Don't try to overhaul your entire approach overnight. That's your perfectionism looking for another reason to delay. Pick one thing, one concrete behavior. Maybe it's setting up an automatic purchase so one buying decision requires zero willpower. Maybe it's committing to a 48-hour waiting period before any sell decision. Maybe it's spending 20 minutes every Sunday reviewing your actual thesis rather than your current balance. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that you do it, and then do it again and again. because you are not trying to be the perfect investor immediately. You are trying to become someone who shows up consistently, and consistent showing up is the only thing that builds the habits that eventually make discipline feel natural. Here's the part nobody in the crypto space talks about honestly. Discipline feels awful at first. Your brain will fight you on every right decision. It will tell you that the market is too uncertain right now to keep buying. It will tell you that this time really is different and the recovery might not come. It will produce compelling arguments for every emotional action you shouldn't take, and you are going to have to recognize those arguments for what they are and act correctly anyway. But here's what happens after you do that a few times. It gets easier. Not easy, easier. Your brain begins to learn through actual experience that the panic doesn't destroy you, that the drawdown does recover, that the discipline you maintained through the difficult period was the right call. It starts to build a different set of associations around investing, associations built on evidence rather than fear, and gradually the resistance gets quieter. You also need to look honestly at your environment, because it's controlling your investing behavior more than
You realize if you have price alert notifications turned on for every 5% move, you are going to feel the urge to act on every 5% move. If you are spending hours a day in crypto communities where every market move generates emotional reaction, you are marinating your brain in exactly the kind of stimulus that produces emotional decisions. If your portfolio is visible on your phone's home screen, you are going to check it reflexively dozens of times a day, and each check is another opportunity for anxiety to generate a bad decision. Successful long-term crypto investors do not have more willpower than you. They have better systems. They reduce the friction between themselves and the right behavior, and increase the friction between themselves and the wrong behavior. They structure their environment so that the default action is the disciplined one. Turn off the price alerts, remove the portfolio app from your home screen, set your automatic purchases, and then make the deliberate access to change them inconvenient. Unsubscribe from the sources that generate anxiety without generating insight. Make it harder to make an impulsive trade than it is to simply hold. Your future portfolio will be built as much by the actions you prevented yourself from taking as by the actions you took. Here is something you need to hear, even though it is uncomfortable. You need to stop consuming so much crypto content. You are probably watching market analysis videos, reading price prediction threads, following commentators who break down every daily candle like it contains critical information. And all of that feels like being a serious investor, but most of it is not. Most of it is your brain using the sensation of staying informed as a substitute for the discomfort of actually executing a disciplined strategy and then leaving it alone. You do not need more information. You almost certainly already know more than enough to build a strategy that works. What you need is to stop learning as a form of avoidance and start executing with what you already know. Close the video when it ends. Open your portfolio app. Do one thing that moves your position in the direction your actual plan calls for. Just one thing, right now. Here is another truth that perfectionism has been hiding from you. Your first attempts at real discipline are going to feel wrong. You are going to hold through a drawdown and feel like you are making a mistake. You are going to make your consistent purchase during a falling market and feel foolish. You are going to skip a trade that subsequently ran and feel like you left money on the table. This is all normal. This is all part of what it feels like to build genuine investing habits rather than react to immediate signals. You are not trying to be a great investor immediately. You are trying to build the behavior of someone who shows up consistently. Quality of decisions comes later. Consistency comes first. Let me tell you what is going to happen when you actually start doing this. You are going to feel resistance. You are going to have days where you fall back into old patterns. You are going to panic sell once and feel like the discipline is broken. This is not failure. This is the process. The investors who succeed are not the ones who never break discipline. They are the ones who do not let one broken moment turn into an abandoned strategy. They acknowledge the mistake, they return to the plan. They do not use one bad decision as permission to stop trying. That is the entire secret. Keep coming back.
And stop using guilt as a motivational tool, because it is not one. Every night you spend lying awake hating yourself for the trade you made today is not building discipline, it's building shame. And shame does not make you a better investor. It makes you someone who associates investing with self-punishment, which makes every part of the process feel worse and harder to sustain. Instead, talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you want to actually improve. You made an emotional trade today. Okay, what does that tell you about your system that needs to change? You did not follow the plan. Fine. What one thing can you do differently tomorrow? Forgiveness here is not about lowering your standards. It's about staying in the game long enough for the discipline to actually develop. Here is what you need to remember above everything else. You are not a lazy investor. Lazy is not who you are. Lazy is what the pattern has been, and there is a fundamental difference between the two. Who you are is someone with a genuine vision for financial freedom, with the intellectual understanding of what it takes to get there, and with the actual capacity to build the discipline to make it happen. What you have been doing is choosing the path of least resistance, because your brain has not yet learned through enough real experience that the path of discipline leads somewhere worth going. Now you understand the psychology behind the pattern. Understanding is the first step toward change, but understanding without action is just another form of staying stuck. Ambition in crypto without execution is just an expensive fantasy. Wishing for the right market conditions will not build the portfolio you want, but execution without the self-awareness to learn from mistakes will not last either. You need the discipline to act correctly even when every emotion is pushing you to the wrong decision, and you need the honesty to examine yourself clearly when you fall short. That combination is what creates an investor who actually keeps what they build. So, here's what I want you to do. Stop watching videos about becoming a better investor and start being one. Stop refining your strategy in theory and start executing it in reality. Stop waiting for the market conditions that will finally make discipline feel easy, because those conditions do not exist. Take one small step today toward the investor you've been describing yourself as becoming for months or years, because that one step is going to do something no amount of planning can do. It's going to show your brain real evidence that you are serious this time. Take another step tomorrow and the day after, and before you realize it's happening, you won't recognize the investor you used to be. You have spent enough time imagining the portfolio you want. Now it's time to build it. Not next cycle, not when the market looks cleaner. Now. One decision at a time. One consistent action at a time. That's how the investor you want to be gets built. Not through a single perfect strategy, through small, consistent choices that compound into something neither luck nor any single trade could ever produce. You are capable of far more than your recent history suggests, but nobody is going to build this for you. The market is not going to hand it to you. The next bull run is not going to save you from your own patterns. You are the only person who can break this cycle. You are not broken. You are not hopeless. You are just stuck in a pattern, and patterns can be changed. It will not be comfortable, but the version of you on the other side of this, the one who doesn't just understand crypto but actually builds wealth through it, that version is worth every uncomfortable moment it takes to get there. Go be that investor, starting right now. If this described something you've been living through and finally gave it a name, hit that like button and share it with someone in the crypto space who needs to hear it. Most people will keep watching content about investing without ever changing the behavior. Don't be one of them. And if you want the specific framework for turning this self-awareness into a daily system that makes disciplined investing automatic, even when the market is doing everything it can to trigger your worst habits, subscribe and watch the next video. Because understanding the psychology is just the beginning. Building the structure that makes it irrelevant is where everything actually changes.